been a rough couple of weeks for UK public service broadcaster Channel 4, and in this video we're going to look at Cambridge educated and tax dodging millionaire Jimmy Carr chainsawing an Adolf Hitler painting in his new show Jimmy Carr Destroys Art.
Tonight our audience decide what should be done with controversial and offensive works of art. Join me as we hold artworks and their creators to account.
To celebrate their 40 years on the air, Channel 4 announced their Truth and Dare season, and the whole thing, so far at least, has been a series of bumbling from one PR disaster to another. First, it was bespectacled Welsh tryhard Christian guru-murthy, most famous outside the UK for getting his butt shut down by Quentin Tarantino.
I'm shutting your butt down.
Christian guru-murthy found himself in the hot seat after a hot mic picked up some spicy post-interview comments about MP Steve Baker.
Steve Baker, thank you very much indeed. What a
So that happened and I decided not to cover it. I mean, it happened off air and you know, it's his freedom of speech and it. And to be fair to Christian guru-murthy in this particular instance, MP Steve Baker probably is actually a cunt, probably allegedly. Channel 4 faces furious backlash after transgender comedian stripped naked live on air and played keyboard with her penis. Again, in isolation, I don't care enough about this to make a video. I mean, so what? We all laughed at Picasso painting things with his penis. And it's not like this woman had a big stiff cock or anything. It was flaccid and it was after the watershed. I mean, whatever, if you don't like it, don't watch it, right? I mean, who even watches TV these days? Only boomers watch TV. And probably Tom from MySpace. So when I saw comedian Jimmy Carr and Adolf Hitler trending, I was ready to dismiss this with the old "a joke is a joke" speech and words don't hurt, blah blah blah. Jimmy Carr has a reputation as an edgelord comedian, and I mean, it wasn't long ago that he was in trouble after making this Holocaust joke in his Netflix special.
When people talk about the Holocaust, they talk about the tragedy and horror of 6 million Jewish lives being lost to the Nazi war machine. But they never mention the thousands of gypsies that were killed by the Nazis. No one ever wants to talk about that because no one ever wants to talk about the positives.
I thought I'd have to mount some kind of free speech defense for some tasteless joke like that one, but no. What I witnessed instead was some kind of dystopian re-education and brainwashing training camp. So drop a like on the video, grab a hot cup of culturally appropriated brown colonization water, and let's roll the fucking credits.
पूछा गया था x स्क्वायर अपॉन yz, तो ऐसे सवालों को करने के लिए देखिए एक तो बेसिक ट्रिक है, एक तो लाइक और शेयर ठोक दीजिए महाकाल का, दबा के लाइक और शेयर ठोक दीजिए।
Tonight our audience decide what should be done with controversial and offensive works of art. Join me as we hold artworks and their creators to account.
Channel 4's Festival of Cancel Culture is hosted by failed clone of Roger Federer comedian Jimmy Carr, and is filmed in front of a live studio audience who are gonna use the power of democracy to decide whether a bunch of controversial art pieces should be destroyed or not. And the show is kind of lame but kind of interesting, but not in a way that I think that they were aiming for. Let me try and explain. The first interesting thing to point out is that everyone who's here in the audience has been tricked into taking part in this stunt. They were all told that this was a regular art exhibition and they had no idea what was about to take place. If they had been given any warning or notice of what was about to happen, had they thought about it for longer than 1 minute, then maybe. they wouldn't have fallen into this trap.
It's a trap!
There's a VT at the start which pitches to the audience how cancel culture is actually a good thing, and it's mostly done by cool, young, hip, middle-class people like you, the people who volunteered to go to what they thought was going to be an art exhibition for fun. And it's a weird time to be pulling a stunt like this. It's what the SJWs would call not a good look. What with all the furore at the moment around the Just Stop Oil protests.
What is worth more, art or life?
First of all, you know what's worth more than both? Time. Time is our most precious resource and it's truly unrenewable. But whatever, you can buy it for $15 an hour to flip hamburgers or flip super soy vegetable rights burgers or whatever. And second of all, not using Campbell's soup here is right up there with the biggest missed opportunities of the year so far. You could have legit sold the whole stunt as an avant-garde meta performance art demonstration or whatever, but these eco-terrorists are a whole video unto themselves, and maybe we'll cover that one day.
How dare you!
Ding ding, round one. And first up into the wood chipper, it's the paedophiles. The show puts up the work of sculptor and incestuous child abuser and dogfucker Eric Gill, the man who famously sculpted this statue of a naked boy which is still on display outside the BBC headquarters. They put up some of Eric Gill's drawings versus a painting by beloved children's presenter and man who makes your pet feel less poorly. It's royal portrait artist and notorious paedophile Rolf Harris.
Can you tell what it is yet?
Oh, it's your penis, Rolf, get out of my face! Bloody immigrants coming over here, doing all them crimes. It's a real Sophie's choice. Forget the artworks and the people behind them for a moment and zoom out a bit with me. Not quite as far as separate the art from the artist, that's a little bit too far. But what I want you to notice here is the production and the format of this show dictates that one of these two works must be destroyed. It's a nice piece of sleight of mind here. The audience, unprepared for making this decision, must democratically decide which painting to destroy rather than questioning, should we destroy these paintings? The binary voting options between Rolf Harris and the pedo statue dude means that at the end of this round, one of them will be destroyed. And just like in two-party democracy, the people voting are being forced to vote for a lesser evil, while simultaneously, in this case, being conditioned to find the destruction of these artworks more acceptable and maybe even morally justified. Doesn't matter who you vote for here, because either way we get to see some destruction. For what it's worth, the people of the audience voted to save Rolf Harris like it's some perverted I'm a celebrity get me out of here reality show for pedos. They repeat this trick a few times and showcase a whole bunch of controversial art, including a giant painting of infamous UK serial killer Myra Hindley, who, along with her partner, murdered at least 5 children in the 1960s, because women can be serial killers too, you bloody misogynist. So yeah, Myra Hindley, woman beater Pablo Picasso, and even transracialist Rachel Dolezal gets a mention. But be sure to check out my video about her after this one. Let's see if I remember to put a link in the description. Each round, before they decide which artwork to destroy, the merits of each one are debated by a celebrity on one side and an expert on the other, like former editor of The Independent, Loose Women host and ambassador to the horse people, Janet Street Porter, or man that I haven't thought about for over a decade, the trigger-happy TV star and school classmate of Osama bin Laden, Dom Jolly. That's not even a joke, check it out. Like, their opinions are equal and just as valid as the professionals, again demonstrating another issue that the mainstream media knows about itself but does nothing to prevent. The celebrities lead the gullible audience members in a tyranny of the majority as they burn and shoot and destroy their way through these controversial art pieces before we get to the big money shot where they shred a Hitler painting with mini chainsaws. Cool, good work guys, you did it, you defeated fascism, thank you. I mean, what the actual fuck is this show? This time, instead of choosing between two artworks, the question is, should we destroy this Hitler painting that we paid for or not? And after all the other rounds of preconditioning, it was an easy choice for the audience and they shredded the Hitler. I mean, I hope it's been clear from my tone that I'm totally against this sort of postmodernist historical revisionism. You don't get to choose what is remembered and what is forgotten, even when it's Hitler, especially when it's Hitler. I mean, why stop there? Let's burn all the copies of Mein Kampf, and obviously let's throw all his baby photos on the fire too. While we're here, we've got all these copies of Mouse, yeah, chuck them on as well. Let's remove the stain on humanity that is the Holocaust so no one can ever be offended by it. Let's cancel everything offensive, everything and everyone. Back in the day, these are the same people that would have burned witches and heretics for saying that the earth goes around the sun. I mean, it's not hard to imagine a well-organized group of radicalized young people doing Charlie Hebdo or something. When the Islamic State smash statues that they don't agree with, that's bad. But when liberal white gender studies and art students decide, isn't that the same thing? The show was lame, the audience did exactly what they were supposed to, and a bunch of smug middle-class gits got to have a nice day out paid for by Channel 4. What I would have done, how it should have ended, if you will. Ding ding, final round. So 2 guillotines and a hooded man strapped in each one. Jimmy Carr comes out and he's like, on the left we have Roman Polanski and on the right we've got Woody Allen, who will get their head lopped off, and he does his weird little Jimmy Carr head wobble thing. And after all those rounds of preconditioning, I'm confident that no one person would stand up and say, how about no? Even if some people in the audience leave, so what? Your vote doesn't count if you don't cast it. What, are you some kind of child abuse fan? The majority decide and the guillotine comes crashing down and the person's head drops off and the lights go down and they come back up and oh shit the bed, here comes Darren Brown, and it's all like, this whole thing was a demonstration of how you, the plebs of the world, are manipulated into doing horrible things by the power of suggestion and peer pressure and cancel culture and all that jazz. That these are literally the kinds of techniques that the Nazis used, and you, the suggestible sheep, just voted a man to his death. It's like the Stanford experiment or some shit. But no, it wasn't that. That would have been awesome. I'd have given that show 5 hammers and sickles out of 5. I mean, I think it's a series. Maybe they'll do that at the end. Maybe that's what they're building to, but I doubt it because that would be too interesting. The whole thing seemed to be a very weak defense of cancel culture, and to be honest, I was surprised to see Jimmy Carr attached to this program, as I would expect an edgy boy comedian, especially one with a long history of controversy, that he would be disgusted by the very premise of this show and its attacks on freedom of expression. But I am reminded of another controversial artist, Salvador Dali, who painted The Masturbation of Hitler. Dali was a surrealist but also a fascist supporter, and his former surrealist friends nicknamed him Avid Dolares, which translates to eager for dollars. They called him Avid Dolares because he sold his consciousness and idealism for money and fame. And I think that's an appropriate nickname for Jimmy Carr as well. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and until next time, fuck off.